I used to come to this guy's house, and he had the snacks, he had the exotic drinks, he had the exotic chips, and now I show up and I'm like, where's the snacks? This man fed me a dates, Rice Krispie, like a Reese's treat, and I was like, man, this is fire.
Am I just motivated? I got a picture on my wall of what I want to look like, right?
Yeah.
That's what some people, I'm not saying I do.
He got Brad Pitt on his wall.
I do not have anyone on my wall. But I hear people say that you put that picture of your car on your wall and you look at it every day and you're going to get it. It's like, okay, once you get it, what then? I understand, like, God is ultimately first, and without God, I'm never going to be happy doing any of those things. And I think that's where Matt's kind of coming from, is like, I had to really reevaluate my life and say, what is important? Welcome back, everyone, to the 99 for 1 podcast. I'm Rob.
I'm Matt.
And so this week, we're on season 1, episode 2. Every week, we're kind of filming one episode a week. As for right now, we're just shooting one at a time because we're still learning. We're still kind of trying to figure out the reels, uploading. We don't have really anyone working with us. Me and Matt are like doing everything on the podcast as far as editing, making reels, running YouTube, learning how to do all these things. It's been quite a journey.
We appreciate, like we always say it all the time, we appreciate everybody who watches, likes, comment, and shares. It goes a long way, especially with YouTube. YouTube is just like, I feel like a big old monster that we're trying to like attack. But so far, the views, the comments, we actually had one of our shorts have someone comment on there and kind of was just like one of the real, moments for us where we're like, wow, someone other than our friends is watching this.
Yeah.
And
I mean, no offense to our friends and family, but that's kind of been our main supporters. Yeah. And like Matt said, we were on YouTube and we saw like someone was commenting on the shorts on how we were talking about how God, sometimes we have this perception of him, and this person was talking about how he has this perception of God because he's gone through so much, and he really feels like maybe it's not worth it. Life's not worth it. He was saying that he's almost died like 3 times, and that's a tough thing to read because it's like, man, what can I do for this person? Yeah. But we do know, like, this is why we created this platform for that one lost sheep. And if anyone, like we said, is going through those things, reach out to us on Instagram, on the 99 for 1 collective Instagram, and we'll pray for you. I know on YouTube, maybe you don't want to send your real name or whatever the case is, but message us on Instagram for now, while we're still able to read all the messages. Yeah. Because I hear people all the time like, man, we went from just having like 1 or 2 followers to like, I can't even keep up with the DMs, but right now we're at that place, humble beginnings, beginnings. It's fun. It's been fun learning. It's definitely difficult. I know Matt works his regular job. Like I said, I have the studio here at home, so I'm a little bit more flexible as being able to be here in the studio and creating and also learning new things as far as how to make these videos and make the reels and do those things. But Matt's juggling an actual job.
Literally juggling.
Let's talk about these cups.
Shout out to these cups. Rob, I think you need to tell them like your idea behind like all these cups.
Yeah, I mean, I was just kind of going to let them try to figure it out, but that man said juggling. He's been juggling.
This man's been juggling.
That's a dad joke right there. So, I mean, as I was sharing, if you saw the bloopers reel or if you were just paying attention to the video, last week,
the T-Rex.
We had the T-Rex mug and then Matt had the Big Tex cup. But, we're trying to keep it light. Yeah. And I'm like, man, every week I kind of wanted to have a different mug and something that's funny.
Yeah.
So if you're out there watching and you know us and you got a funny mug and you want to show it off, send it our way.
Yeah, tag us on Instagram. We have a funny mug.
Yeah, we should make a hashtag for that on Instagram.
We should. Like hashtag funny mugs or something like that.
Yeah, we're gonna come up with a hashtag
for real.
99 for one mugs.
I mean, because I'm sure like people in the morning are getting up, drinking their coffee. Rob's a big coffee drinker. He's getting me into drinking coffee. I tell my wife, like, I'm done with the energy drinks. I want to drink more coffee. And
yeah, we've been like on that energy drink. You know, started off with 1 a day, then 2 a day, and I quit caffeine for a good little while, like 3 weeks, and I said, no, I'm done. And then as I started waking up, 4:30, 5:30 in the morning, I'm like, I need something. And I don't want to put a bunch of sugar in my coffee. So I'm like, I'm just going to drink it straight. So Matt's been drinking it straight. We got some espresso shots. That's why we're always all hyped up.
For real.
But tag us in if you got a mug. Yeah. And we'll post it on the Instagram.
And if you know us, me and Rob are not like these two very serious guys. We could be serious when we need to be. But we're not like trying to be super like serious all the time.
I mean, I think God has shown me the past few weeks as leading up to the podcast and even doing the podcast, a word I kept hearing, and I even saw someone post it, and I was like, dude, that is for me, because I keep hearing it, and it was, don't take yourself too serious. And I'm not saying like don't take anything serious. Of course, like if you know me, I can be a little serious. I was sharing with Matt that every time I meet someone and they actually finally get to know me, whether I cut their hair or they come over for a barbecue and hang out, they're like, man, I had you all wrong. Like, I thought you were this mean, like, just really.
Like, even in high school, though, I remember like people would be like, he's the mean guy and you're the nice guy. And I'm like, nah, like we're kind of like both exactly the same.
And I could see, I mean, sometimes I am a little bit more quiet. Yeah. And Matt's a little bit more outgoing, but when you finally get to meet us and hang out with us, you'll see like these are both the same, and they're always joking. And I realize like even with the podcast, we can't take ourselves too serious. We're just two regular dudes who want to help people, and we got to show people this is who we are. We're not these dudes who are really strict and uptight. We're always clowning around, as you can see. And that's why I wanted to do the mug thing. Because it's like, dude, show people a little bit that, yes, we can get deep. I know someone put like, dude, they're getting deep. They're getting raw in the comments. And like on our last video. But it's like at the same time, we had those laughs in there. When you posted that photo of yourself in the Riddler, bro, that had me dying.
I don't even know what I was thinking there at that time in my life. I definitely was inspired by Wiz Khalifa because I had the little blonde patch in my hair. But man, I was like a whole nother level. But and it's true because I feel like when we started the podcast, I don't want to say I was like acting like somebody that I wasn't, but I felt like I was like trying to like speak and like be somebody that I'm generally not like in real person. And so you were like, hey, dude, like, just be yourself, because if they catch you on the streets, you ain't over here.
Yeah, I was like, elegant. Don't create this character that you're going to have to play every episode of this serious dude. I was like, be yourself. Like, talk how you talk, joke how you joke. Don't take yourself serious. And that's something I have to remind myself. Like, I don't want to be this podcaster who's just constantly thinking he's a theologian or thinking, I got it all figured out and just taking myself way too serious, because that's not me, man. I want to have fun with this podcast and people can relate to that. I don't want to make people uncomfortable to where like these dudes got it all together. They're too serious. This podcast isn't for me. I wanted this podcast to be super light, super funny, and people to also see that side. Like, we can be serious. You're gonna hear some crazy stuff like we shared last time that is deep, that's serious, but ultimately know that we're just two regular dudes and we're like you. We just end up having this platform now that we never thought we would have.
Yeah, for sure. And I think maybe the whole idea for me, trying to be somebody different kind of came back, from being younger and, growing up with people always name calling me, kind of like being that chubbier dude where I had to try to be somebody that like I wasn't. And I think that's also the reason why, like, with working out, you know, that's kind of like being the
thing. Yeah, don't get me wrong. I mean, I was shorter than Matt, so I know I was just as chubby. So, but the thing was, like, I didn't really care about those things so much. And then I guess once I got into football, I kind of balanced out. Mm-hmm. But I know with Matt, like he shared last podcast, you know, him trying to be a ladies' man over here, he kind of took that like self-conscious, you know, approach on how he looked and how he would dress. And like he said, that would lead him into working out. I know we were talking, he's like, you know, man, I remember this specific family member would always call me names, and we were not trying to put anybody on blast.
Yeah, we never want to come on here and like roast or put someone out there. So we're going to try our best not to like use
you know who you are.
Yeah, you know who you're watching. You give me these biceps.
Nah, but yeah, he was like, dude, that's what made me. And I'm like, yep, I remember that because, I mean, I would get called names too. I didn't really care, though.
Yeah,
I was just like,
I mean,
whatever.
But, you know, I think for me, I did have maybe not like an eating problem, but I love to eat. Growing up, like
this man was on a boat for his whole life.
But no, I think like I didn't realize like how drastically that was affecting me. You know, I always thought, oh, I can wear bigger clothes. When you're a younger kid, now I'm sure like the husky size is like normal or like. But for me growing up, when you heard you were wearing husky, like it was like this boy's big.
Having to wear uniforms, they get you the huskies.
Yeah, so that was like that part for me growing up. You know, middle school. You know, always wearing baggy clothes, and also like I was a big dude trying to wear skinny jeans. You know, I looked like an ice cream cone. You know, that was not
like a lollipop.
Yeah, it was not a good look.
A lollipop kid.
You know, I remember my parents always being like, "What's wrong with this kid? Why is he always dressing like this?" But yeah, leading into high school, I was like, I'm done. Like I'm done being this big dude. You know, it's like the movies where you know, it's like the movies where like the motivational music kicks in. And he's like going through, you know, a year.
I mean, it wasn't even until like junior year.
Yeah, it was like,
okay, year. I'm gonna start actually working out.
Mm-hmm. Shout out to Planet Fitness. That was like my first gym. It was just like, I'm gonna go to Planet Fitness. I had I wasn't looking up to anybody. YouTube was barely fitness influencers, but I remember like the only diet I had was a soup and salad diet. I was eating these Progresso, 50 less sodium, and like I lost a bunch of weight, you know, and they called it like a glow up. You know, I was totally, you know, different looking person, but it would spiral into like being something, you know, lifetime.
I remember that. During that same time, I guess like I was kind of following your lead. I started working, so when I was working, I was more active. I wasn't playing football at that time, like I was shared in the last podcast. I was kind of just going through that process of doing graffiti art and smoking, eating, drinking. So I was not a physical person at all. Like the only time I actually like would do anything was when I'd go out and paint, and that would be like the most I'd sweat, you know, throughout the week or whatever. And I remember like looking at myself, and there's a specific photo, and we'll post that photo of a time that I'm just like, dang, I always look back at that photo and I was like, how was I like 16, 17 years old weighing like 200 something pounds and being like 5'4", 5'5", however tall I was, you know? And I'm just like, dang. And then when I actually lost weight, you know, when you started getting on your fitness journey, I kind of like started to follow you along. And then because I worked at Discount Tire, I would sweat a lot. Oh, yeah, like if anyone, shout out to anyone who works at Discount Tire. I couldn't do it. Dude, you know how much those people sweat. Like, you know, you're just sitting in the lobby in the AC and they're out there hustling. Like that's the main thing about working there is like how fast they can get cars.
They look like NASCAR.
Yeah, they think they're
literally like that. It was literally like that.
So yeah, this dude wouldn't work for a week with me. He was not happy.
I was like, I would sweat at the gym. I ain't sweating here. I'm done.
Yeah, I got Matt a job, and then I got the homie Jeremy a job, and he lasted. Jeremy actually lasted. He enjoyed it, and he lost a lot of weight. And during that time, you know, being more physical, sweating a lot, and that's when you were working out. I started to hit the gym too, and started to build muscle. But I remember the transformation that I had going from, you know, just not really caring about anything physical to actually sweating and putting in a little bit of work, and just seeing I dropped like so much weight. And then when I wanted to join the Marine Corps, I dropped even more weight because I had to meet like a specific, you know, thing. But I think that's, you know, what's important is sometimes we get motivated by something that kind of pushes us to, you know, do something different about our life, whether it is fitness or whether it's something else that motivates you to get a better job, to get that promotion, to start a podcast, to, you know, start doing videos or whatever it is. Something always motivates you. Yeah. Like in my case, it was getting a job and then leaving to the Marines. I had to make the weight, so I got motivated. And then for you, it was being name called, being picked on, motivated you to lose the weight. And I was telling Matt, like, you know, it's easy to get motivated. I remember I'd watch Rocky. Like, Rocky was my favorite movie growing up. You watch Rocky. Anyone watches Rocky or Creed. If you're a jit, you're gonna be watching Creed. You watch Creed and you see that transformation. Like, you're like, dang, bro, I'm gonna go hit the gym. I'm gonna go hit the weights. You go outside, do a little workout, and then the next day you don't watch nothing. Yeah, and you lose that drive. You lose that motivation. So it's like, motivation's good. Yeah, we all need something that motivates.
I think now it's even worse because motivation's all over social media. I mean, people are literally creating reels just to motivate you to do something. Right now, there's a huge, you know, thing going on with running. You know, running is like becoming the cool thing. I don't know what happened. Like, everybody's like getting running shoes. I mean, I got bit by that bug. You know, I was like, I want to start running. But when you really think about it, running sucks. Like, you're out there in the heat, whether it be waking up early in the morning. So motivation can only get you far. You know, everybody talks about like David Goggins and like, I'm going to put David Goggins in my ear. He's going to scream at me and I'm going to keep running. It's like, that only could last for so long.
C.T. Fletcher when we were younger.
Yeah, C.T. Fletcher was like
I don't advise anyone who's a Christian to go watch C.T. Don't watch that. Don't watch. I mean, I don't advise anyone.
But it's crazy
because the teacher cusses at you. Dude, but he would push you. Right?
Exactly.
You know,
we would literally watch him before going to the gym. I remember being like, we're going to go hit his arm workout. We're going to go do this. And that was like the motivation to be in the gym at that time was like this guy, that guy.
That's what I'm saying. Like, motivation, like whether it's videos or whatever, like it'll get you started, which is good. But it's like at the same time, it's like we were having to watch videos of dudes working out every day just to keep us motivated. Yeah. And, you know, that's not really a good way to achieve any goal because at some point you're going to stop watching those things. At some point you're going to fall off and you're not going to get back up. Yeah. You know, I can definitely attest to that. Like I was sharing, you know, I got 4 years of just getting, you know, lazy, and it's like, where was that motivation? When I was in the Marine Corps, it was like, well, you're going to get up, they're going to tell you to work out, or you're going to have to be held to this standard. So it wasn't like I was motivated to do it. It was just a standard that I had to meet. But, you know, when you try to find yourself being motivated by something, it's never going to end well because you lose motivation. And I think one of the things you need is consistency and discipline. I had talked about that, like Matt. You know, Matt gets into something, I get into it, or I get into something, Matt gets into it. And just like you said, he got into running, and I'm like, bro, I used to smoke this dude at running
all the time.
I run circles around this dude.
Well, the last time when I was like, I want to run, you're like, all right. And then I remember we would like post our runs and I'd be like, I'm going to be faster than this guy. And I could never catch up. I was like, I don't know what this dude's on.
I don't even know why I fell off that time. Yeah. Like, it was just like several months back, bought running shoes, did the whole 9.
You called me like, I got the Brooks, I got this. And I'm just like looking at my feet and I'm like,
I was running barefoot.
I was like, I got some thrift store finds, you know, but yeah, it's true. Motivation can only get you so far for sure.
Yeah. I remember when I used to train to get ready for the Marine Corps, I was laughing about this the other day. I was like, dude, I didn't have a weighted vest. I ended up getting one, but I remember before I had a weighted vest, if anyone lives in the San Antonio area and you're familiar with where SeaWorld is, you probably driven there and there's a lot of hills. And I remember like I used to live not too far from there and I was getting ready to go to the Marines, and one of the biggest things in the Marine Corps is running. You have to run 3 miles in order to pass your fitness test. And when I heard that, I'm like, I'm going to start running and training in my running. And I got so good at running, then I was like, I need to add weight. Because I remember them saying, like, you're going to have to hike and wear all this weight on you. So I remember it was funny because I would put bricks. I don't know if you remember this.
That's
I would put bricks in a backpack. Bro.
Oh, wow.
Just a regular Jank Sport And I would
crazy.
go run those hills.
Wow.
And dude, my back's probably jacked up.
I remember you would run all the time.
Yeah.
You would literally, we lived in a certain area and you would run to the gym. I remember like you were like running to the gym and I'd be like, I'm gonna try that out. And then I'd be like, I run to the gym and then I was like, yeah, I'm probably gonna need to ride back home because I'm not running back home after this. But you would just be on it, you know, kind of like how you're saying, like consistency and discipline. Like you were disciplined at that time because I remember your whole mindset shifted. You were just like, I'm getting into the Marines. I have my PT, but like you were like determined to also like be the best at, you know, your times, you know, certain things like that. So you were locked in at that moment.
Like I said, I mean, I was probably weighing 200 something pounds when I stopped tattooing. And then I started working, losing a little bit of weight. But then when I decided I wanted to join the Marines, they told me like, you got to be around 165, maybe max 175. And they're like, but if you are at that max, there's the possibility they're not going to let you leave. And when I heard that, like you said, it flipped a switch that put me in overdrive. And I was like, I'm going to get consistent. Every day I'm going to run. Every day I'm going to work out. I'm going to have this drive. And yes, it started with motivation, right? It started with that motivation, like I said, but it had to get that consistency. Even the days I didn't want to wake up, even the days I didn't want to do it, I had to find myself like just persevering, pushing through because it sucked some days. I mean, I'm going to tell you the truth. Like not every day you're going to wake up ready to go hit the gym. Not every day you're going to wake up wanting to go to work, wanting to do anything really. Like there's going to be those days and it might be a consistent role or a consistent many days where you're just like, nah, I'm not feeling it. And what do you do with those days, right? Like, are you going to choose to take a break and then not get back into it? Like I said, I don't even remember. I took one day off from running, you know, just a few months ago. And then I stopped running, you know, for a long period of time. I'm like, what actually happened?
And
I lost that
consistency is so important because a lot of times people will look at you, let's say like your great career, you know, let's say you're doing well off for yourself and someone's going to be like, it was an overnight success. And it's like, no, I was taking these little steps, getting myself to the end goal. And now I'm here and you're seeing the results of the consistency. Same thing with this podcast right now. Like people may think, oh, you're just showing up, you know, you're just doing anything, but like we are thinking long-term, you know, not short-term, we're thinking long-term, but we have to show up, you know, we have to show up, we have to plan. We can't just come in here, sit down and be like, let's just talk about whatever.
Yeah. Like we kind of did that the first 2 episodes. I mean, we had a general idea of like, what are we going to talk about? You know, we knew like, okay, first episode, we're going to introduce ourselves, or the pilot episode, we're going to kind of just introduce ourselves and talk about that. And then first episode, we're going to share our testimony. And then when it came to this episode, it's like, what are we going to talk about? And it's like, yeah, we could just go on here and ramble. Yeah. Just be rambling, just be yapping.
Yapping.
As these youngsters say, yapping. Or we can actually create a general idea of what we want to talk about and key points, you know, and that takes time. That takes planning, effort, consistency. And like Matt said, just showing up. Like, you know, there's going to be those days where we're not going to want to show up here on the podcast. We're not going to want to talk. Maybe we're going through something or whatever it is. But when you push through, you know, through those tough days, it's going to help you, you know, that discipline, man, that word, like, that's a bad word in some people's life.
No, yeah. And I think something you said, you told me, you said, you gave me your goal. We're not sharing it. We're not going to share the goal in here, but yeah, give me a goal. Yeah, give me your timeline. And I remember when you gave me that, I knew because he had his goal set and he knew what he wanted to reach, he is going to do it because you already had the end result in mind. You even said, even if I don't get there, this is where I want to be. And then you created the plan to get yourself to that point. And now every day you're like doing it, you know, even if it doesn't look like the last day before, you're like, I'm going to continue to keep going that way.
Yeah. I think that's, you know, like we shared, it's easy to get motivated to do something, right? You look at yourself in the mirror and you're like, bro, what am I doing like with my life? Or you look at your career and you're like, how did I end up here? I had this dream, this goal to be here, and it motivates you. But at the same time, when you need to build the consistency.
Mm-hmm.
You can't rely on that. Like you said, I have a goal, and it's a fitness goal, right? Mm-hmm. And it's like, okay, what happens after I meet that goal? Yeah. And that's something I've been having to wrestle with. Yeah. And it's like, am I just creating a goal, right? Am I just motivated? I got a picture on my wall of what I want to look like, right? Yeah. You know, that's what some people, I'm not saying I do that.
He got Brad Pitt on his wall.
I do not have anyone on my wall. But I hear people say that, you put that picture of your car on your wall and you look at it every day and you're going to get it. It's like, okay, once you get it, what then? Yeah. You know, it's like, once you achieve a goal, is there consistency? Is there discipline anymore? Or does it just go out the window? It's like, I was thinking about that, like, okay, I make this goal and then what? Yeah. It's like, I think that's the problem with anyone who gets into anything is like, you don't think about what about after I achieve this? It's true. After I complete this. Yeah. And then, you know, you lose the drive, you lose the momentum, you lose all that, and then you're back to over and over. Yeah. Like, you find yourself in this repetitiveness. You know, I hear people say dieting isn't, like, people think healthy eating is a diet.
Yeah, like it's a bad thing.
Well, no, I'm saying, like, people think healthy eating is like dieting.
Oh, okay, I got you. Yeah,
but it's a lifestyle,
it's a lifestyle,
right? Yeah. So people say, I'm going to go on a diet. And then they eat healthy for X amount of months, maybe a year, and then they lose it all because it was just instead of changing their habits and changing the ways that they eat, they lose, you know, whatever weight the drive, the weight loss that they wanted to lose. And now they go back to their old ways. Yeah. And that's where I was like, man, you know, I can achieve this goal. And then what about after that? I need to make some decisions, not just because I want to look a certain way, but because I actually want longevity in my life for my children's sake. You know, that's really why I kind of made the decision to change some things was because, like, I just didn't feel like I had any energy anymore, any drive. I was waking up like at 11, start cutting, you know, right after that. And then, you know, stay up late, do it again, wouldn't paint, wouldn't draw, you know, just got in this like slump, this routine of just negativity. I'm like,
and let's be real, like, if you take your shirt off and look yourself in the mirror and you don't like what you see, you got to be real. Like, do I want to continue to be this person, you know, for the rest of my life? You know, and I get it. Some people may have some health issues and all those things, but if you can do something about it, you know, and going back to losing passion and all that, like, that was me. I remember getting, you know, trying to do recording full time, didn't work out, got myself the full-time job. And at that point I was like, I'm good. I'm comfortable. I got a check coming in, you know, the wife's happy, the kids are doing their thing. I'm good. And all of a sudden, everything that I was hoping to see come to life just went away. And it was like, I'm fine with this. And then you wake up one day and you're, you know, sitting at your little cubicle and typing, and you realize, like, this probably wasn't what I was supposed to do for the rest of my life.
Yeah, I don't want to knock anyone's job, their hustle. You know, if you enjoy working in an office, if you enjoy, you know, being a stay-at-home mom, if you enjoy whatever it is that you do, like, that's cool. But ask yourself, you know, it's not even just like, I'm going to look at myself in the mirror and I'm not happy. It's like, are you happy with anything in your life? Are you just in the rat race? You know, I talked to you about this earlier, was like, I don't ever want to find myself living weekend to weekend, like just looking forward to the weekend, not having any aspirations to do anything in the future, just looking, what are we going to do Saturday? And I've lived my life like that multiple times. And I'm like, no, I want to make every day something worth living for. I want to make, like, it doesn't mean I'm going skydiving every day. I'm not saying like I live this crazy lifestyle, but at the same time, like, what passions did I have, and do I still have them, or did I just give up? You know, I talked about that. I think we in the pilot episode about dreaming, like, don't ever give up on your dream. You see so many people, like you said, in a cubicle when they were supposed to be the next, you know, biggest whatever actor, the next biggest, you know, singer, the next biggest filmmaker, fitness person, like, but they gave it all up. whether, I know life hits us sometimes. I know sometimes we get in those routines that they suck, or sometimes we just need to do things that are going to provide for the family. But I think we kind of limit ourselves on like, I only got time for that. I can only make time for that. And that was me. Like before a few months ago, I was kind of in that position. Like, I don't have time to do that. I can't make time to do that. I got kids, I got a wife, I got, you know, this new career of barbering that I'm trying to pursue. I can't add anything on top of that. And then one morning I just started waking up early, and I'm like, why did I ever stop waking up early?
Yeah. And it's the discipline part that I believe that you're talking about, that once you have that set into place, it's almost like, I don't want to say you could do anything, but once you have the discipline, it's like, okay, I'm going to get out of work, you know, and I'm going to pursue X, Y, and Z. Like for my life, it's like, I go to work, you know, clock and do my thing, give it 100%. I'm not going to give less, but on my hour lunch break, I'm going to edit some of the shorts for the podcast. Okay, cool. And then when I get out of work, spend some time with my kids, my wife, and then I'm going to edit a little bit more. So you can pursue what you want to do. Let's say they're starting off at that point right now where it's like, you know, I'm hearing y'all out. I want to, you know, start my own podcast. You know, it's like, okay, then create the discipline to say yes to the things that are going to benefit you and to say no to the things that are pulling you back. Maybe you got to stop going to the club on the weekends. Maybe you got to stop, you know, stopping every morning at McDonald's for that $1, you know, sausage and biscuit. You know,
I don't think they're $1 anymore, brother.
No, the McDonald's app. I don't want to, you know, I don't want to.
Yeah, don't hinder anybody
and make anybody stumble. But you know, I'm telling you, there's some deals on there.
Don't get that McDonald's.
You know, but you know, maybe you
start making breakfast in the morning.
Exactly. You know, start making breakfast. You know, for me, it's like if I have my lunch made, you know, for my week, I can sit at my desk and edit this video. But if I know I don't have my lunch, here I am, you know, gonna go to my favorite fast food place or maybe mess up the plans that I have for myself.
Yeah,
so
don't think me and Matt like are perfect.
Yeah.
We're not sitting here. I don't have a six pack. I ain't ripped. You know, I'm not happy. You know, where I'm at.
Yeah.
I'm going to where I want to be, but at the same time, we're two dudes who have struggled with eating, who have struggled with discipline, who have struggled with addiction. Like, that's one of the biggest things that me and Matt had to go through was having an addictive personality. I know it runs in our family, and that's something now that, okay, if anyone out there is listening, they have an addictive personality. What are you addicted to? Yeah. Because not every addiction is bad. And of course, some things that are healthy, if they're not done in moderation, they can become unhealthy. Yeah. Right? We're talking about working out. If you get an addictive personality and then you put this like physique that someone's trying to get, and then they start, you know, you see it all the time. You see these dudes, they're not happy with their body. They change it. They get, you know, they make this goal, they get there, and then it's like, it's not enough. I need to get bigger biceps, start taking steroids, start taking this thing. And then, you know, that's anyone in anything, whether it's drinking, smoking, vaping. Like I said, I had a lot of vices. I had an addictive personality, and I was addicted to a lot of bad things. Now I'm like trying to change those things and figure out a balance and discipline, because even still, if I start running, if I start working out and I get addicted to that, and then I lose sight of what's truly important in my life, my wife, my kids, God, all those things, you know, what happens next? I lose the balance. So it's like trying to, you know, like you said, balance all this, juggle everything, and make sure that you're doing what needs to get done first. Like, don't lose sight of your goal, but also don't make it an obsession.
Yeah, and I think just like you know, addictive personality here, you know, I've been the guy that buys the $1,000 PC to become the next ninja streamer, and then I'm over here like, I probably shouldn't have done that. But the biggest part of my life was learning how to balance fitness, you know, because like I was saying, like being bullied, and, you know, I fell into that. I got to get bigger. I remember telling my wife, I said, I'm going to be the dad that shows up to PTA meetings, and everybody tell my son, like, that's your dad, because he's all big, like looking like Dwayne The Rock Johnson, like getting fit to the door. And sometimes your ego gets, I can't lie, I'm a human being, you know, when someone says like, this dude's big, or, you know, whatever, I'm like, yeah, that's me, you know, like, but it was getting caught up in my life where 7 days a week, I'm at the gym. Someone's asking me, hey, come on over, brother. We want to fellowship with you. Now I got to get to the gym. And don't get me wrong, I had to learn to balance that. If you saw my workout schedule and you'd be like, this guy's only working out 3 times a week, I've made it work. You know, I'm making it work where it's not my everyday thing, but it was my everyday thing. And was I seeing results? For sure. But I'm still seeing results now. It may take a little bit longer, or maybe, you know, got to wake up a little early if I want to do a little bit extra, but I was addicted. You know, I was addicted to growing the big biceps and all those different things. And now I'm learning, like, God had to humble me. You know, he had to show me, like, you put that before me. That's not good. Let's change that. And he still gave it back to me. And now I don't worry about if I didn't make it to the gym or not, you know?
Yeah, I think, like we're talking about, if you enjoy doing something, there's nothing wrong with it. But when you make it your life, and, you know, people might hear and like, okay, of course they're Christians. They're going to say God's everything. But I've said it before on the podcast. You can achieve every goal and then you don't have God and you're like, something's still missing.
Yeah.
I need more money. I need more accolades. I need more of this, more of that. And it's never enough. And that's why, like, with Matt, I would share with him, like, dude, the fitness stuff is cool. You know, even as we talk about it now, like I said, we're not these meathead jocks who, you know, all we do is work out. We have other goals. We have other things that we do in our life, but we just understand that fitness is something that we enjoy. And I understand fitness isn't for everybody. I understand people are going to be watching, like, I don't even work out, maybe feeling a little bit of shame, a little bit of guilt. Like, don't feel that way. I'm telling you, I just started working out after 4 or 5 years of no consistency. Now to my 3rd, 4th week of eating healthy, eating clean, and working out at least 4 to 5 times a week. And that's just because I'm allowed that time to work out, right? But I don't obsessively do those things.
Yeah.
I understand, like, God is ultimately first, and without God, I'm never going to be happy doing any of those things. And I think that's where Matt's kind of coming from, is like, I had to really reevaluate my life and say, what is important? Because, you know, once I get the biggest biceps, once I'm at that PTA meeting, like he said, and everyone's, you know, oh my gosh, that's his dad. Okay, now what?
Yeah.
But also, what type of issues does that cause in your life? You know, as a man, right? You might, what are you desiring? You're a married man. What are you desiring? You have to ask yourself, right? Like, you want other people to look at you, whether it's men or women. You know, I don't really care what it is. You know, like, that's an issue. That's an issue that's not okay. And that's what I'm saying. Like, you got to evaluate your life. Why are you doing the things that you do, right? Like I said, Matt, we were talking about it earlier. Like, Matt was this physical dude when he started coming to the church that I was at. He joined our church, and I was like this spiritual Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he was like the physical Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I was like the physical nutty professor over here, overweight, but spiritually I was, you know, jacked. And Matt saw that, and he, you know, was like, how did you get that? Right. And of course I knew how he got physically fit. I could see every day that he was always at the gym. He'd show up to prayer in, you know, workout shorts and a t-shirt, all sweaty. And I remember he was doing 75 hard. If anyone's familiar with it, it's like it's a program for 75 days where you have to work out twice a day. One of them has to be outside. You have to pick a diet. You have to read. And don't get me wrong, it's not a bad thing. Like I said, being in shape is not a bad thing. When you obsessively do it and put it before God, it can definitely cause some issues. So, you know, Matt was just like, I want to start, you know, getting more spiritually fit. And I said, okay, cool. Like,
because starting 75 hard, disclaimer, I didn't finish it, so don't think I'm this guy that did that. But doing that, I was trying to feel something. You know, I was trying to fill a void at that time. Like, I like you said, I got to the gym. I was hitting all these different things. And I'm like, that's not enough. I need to do something harder. And I was like, I'm going to do 75 hard. And it wasn't even the task of me wanting to do. It was more of like telling people like, I'm doing 75 hard. And everybody's like, oh, you're doing 75 hard. Like, and so as I began that, you started to notice like, hey, he's doing it. But then one day, you know, I can remember it was like day 40 something. And I was got a phone call and I was like, we're talking about my walk. And I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, not that I couldn't complete it. I'm sure I could have completed it and still this journey. But I was like, I knew that spiritually I was a weak dude, you know, just, you know, wasn't built.
When we say spiritually, like, it was just like his prayer life, his reading, his fasting. You know, as Christians, I believe every Christian should fast. If you're a Christian out there and you're watching this podcast and you don't fast, there's an issue, right? Because Jesus talked about, like, the Pharisees asked, like, why don't your disciples fast? And he said, well, because I'm here. He said, when I'm gone, they'll fast.
Yeah, when you fast,
and Jesus ain't here no more, you know, here on earth physically. So we should be fasting, whether it's once a month, once a week. You know, the more you fast, the deeper you're going to go, for sure. I've fasted, you know, not to boast, but just to share. Like, I've fasted and I've seen the power that comes with fasting. I've seen the hand of God move greater in those times that I've fasted. So fasting is a very important part of your walk. So when he's talking about spiritually, he was weak. He didn't have the discipline when it comes to reading. He didn't have the discipline when it came to praying. He didn't have the discipline. And, you know, Matt came to me when he came to our church. I say our church. Of course, I used to say my church. Yeah. Matt used to say your church. I did. Like Rob's church. But it's our church now, right? Yeah. When Matt first started coming there, he was like, Rob, I want you to, like, teach me what you know. Like, I want you to help me in your walk. You know, it's called a disciple, some people would say. I see Matt as my physical brother and my spiritual brother. And, of course, I would always want the best for any of my brothers. So, you know, I was like, yeah, like, I'll teach you the things that I was taught. And one of the things that I was taught was, like, you got to read, you have to pray, and you should be fasting. So when he says he was spiritually weak, he's just talking about that. And I remember I went to California to a conference, and when I came back, I was like all pumped, you know, and it's like probably like if a fitness dude went to, you know, Mr. Olympia and watched all these dudes work out, and he comes back, he's like, I'm hitting it. Next year, I'm going to be at Mr. Olympia. That was me. But for church, I went to this conference.
And I remember you calling me, and you were like pumped. And I'm going to be real. Like, I got the call, and I was like listening to you on the phone. And I think for me at that time, I was like more worried about my own self, what I was thinking. So I was like, this dude's just pumped up, you know, like, let's see how this lasts, you know.
But what's funny, like, now that we're talking about this, and we didn't even bring this up, but remember, Matt had a dream while I was out in California. And this is during while he was doing 75 hard. I did it for, I think I made it to 10 days. Like, we all started together, me, Matt, and another one of our buddies, Caesar. We all started together, and we kind of like try to hold each other accountable. And then finally, like, after day 10, I remember, like, I was just like, bro, I did 5 years hard, brother. I was in the Marine Corps, dog. I woke up, I worked out, I did all that. Like,
but as I started seeing people fall out, I was like, I'm gonna be the one that finishes.
That's what motivated him.
Yeah, for sure.
But I remember I was in California at this conference with all of our youth and our pastor and our brother Domingo, and I remember just getting on fire. I thought I was just going for the youth to help basically chaperone. Like, that was my whole mindset going out there. I'm like, just taking these kids, we're going to have some fun, going to show them what's up. I had raised some money for them to go out there. So I'm like, I'm going to go. Like, I helped raise that money. I'm going out there. Let's go. And I remember I called Matt. I'm like, dude, something's happening out here. Like, something is shifting and I'm motivated. Like, I want to come back and do all these things for God. And Matt was like, dude, it's funny that you say that because I had a dream about you. Yeah. And in his dream, it's like crazy, but he was like, dude, you were jacked.
I did say that.
He was like, you were like Mr. Clean. Your head was shaved and you were just like swole. Yeah. And I remember him sharing that dream with me. And the first thing that came to my mind was not like, oh, I'm going to get in shape, which, I mean, funny that we look at it now I'm getting in shape, right? But I don't think that's going to I don't think he was prophesying that was what was going to happen to me. I don't think he was like foretelling the future that this dude was going to be. I think he was seeing, God was showing him spiritually what was happening to me. Like I was getting bigger, like in this, in the sense of I was going to be pursuing God even greater than I already was. And so I came back and I remember telling Matt, like, dude, we're going to fast. I had motivated all the youth and, you know, everyone that we went with to California, like, we need to come back. We need to fast for 3 days together in unity and to see the things that we want to see happen. And I come back and Matt saying like, I want to be, you know, doing the things that you do spiritually. I was like, okay, well, he's doing 75 hard. I'm like, hey bro, I just came out to him and it was during church service. And I was like, hey man, we're fasting. He's like, who? I was like, you.
I'm about to lie, like I heard that and the look on my face was just like, nah, I'm not fasting.
Yeah, he was upset.
Yeah,
he straight up told me like, no, I'm not.
Yeah,
well, like, it's my son's birthday.
Exactly. I was like, it was my son's birthday. You know, I'm not gonna miss out on this thing. But I remember not saying anything, right? And then going back home and realizing like, if I can do 75 hard, the physical, why can't I do nothing hard spiritually? So I remember telling you like, you know what? I'm gonna.
Yeah, he called me back like a day later, maybe that night.
Yeah,
but he was upset at church when I told him that.
I was. Like,
he was bent. He was like, "This dude's gonna tell me I'm gonna fast," and I was just holding him to the standard that he asked me to. Right, that being accountable. We're, you know, it's like if I told him like, "Hey, bro, I'm setting this goal," and then he catches me just eating cheeseburgers all day, and he's like, "Hey, brother, you created a goal. I'm gonna hold you accountable to it," and that was what I was doing with his walk with Christ, and. You know, sometimes we don't like that. Yeah. We don't like when people hold us accountable. It upsets us, and then we end up quitting doing whatever we.
And I think I was already
do.
I was already quitting before even trying it. You know, I was already telling myself like I can't do it. You know, and it wasn't even like the idea of fasting is like pushing away the plate, right? It wasn't that. It was just like I can't see myself being this person, which is a lie because I know I could have done it.
Yeah, I'm just laughing because I remember like I think before that. I'd said we were going to fast for 3 days, me and Matt. And on like the second day, like he made it through the whole day. And then like at night I called him, like prayed with them, read with them, you know, keep pressing on, brother. And then like, he's like, I got it. And he, you know, the next day I'm like, you know, trying to call him. He's not answering it. And then he finally calls me back. He's like, I got to confess something. I was like, what's up? He's like, after I got off the phone with you, I went and ate dinner.
I did.
I think that was his mindset. Like,
yeah.
I can't do it. Like, it wasn't that he was upset that I was kind of challenging him. I think it was like, you know, maybe I'm going to fail again. Maybe he was scared he was going to fail again. And I'm like, dude, don't. Like, just try it, right? And that's what I shared with him, you know. Well, I didn't actually share that with you, but that's what I kept thinking. And you came at me and told me this. And you were like, you know, if I can do these things physically, work out, make time, like, why can't I do that for God? And I was like, dude, I wanted to share that with you, but, you know, I didn't want to offend you or upset you. But that's exactly what I was thinking. I'm like, this dude can do 75 hard, do all this crazy workouts and do all this discipline. But, you know, when I say, hey, we're going to fast for 3 days, he got a little upset. And, you know, I didn't share that, but God ended up showing you. And that was like the moment I think things started to kind of shift in your walk. And that's when, after those 3 days, you know, he really saw that he could persevere. And
I think, too, what you're saying is like accountability. You know, we can talk about accountability in the physical, like, hey, we're going to get, like how we did with 75, we're going to get everybody together and text each other, how you doing? But when it comes to spiritually, you know, like you said, nobody wants to be told, hey, have you read today? You know, how's your prayer life? You know, what do you, in the fasting part was like probably the last level where I was like, I've done everything in my walk with Christ, but I've never fasted before. So I think getting to that point and knowing that you were going to hold me accountable was like, and it's something that I hold to myself, right? Because we have done a 10-day fast, you know, we've done a 3-day fast. And I always think, what's Rob doing? You know, like it just like, physically, when someone's working out, they think, what's that person doing? You know, is he cheating on his diet today? Is he? And then you see him and he's there eating his meals, you know, doing his thing. So I was thinking of that with you spiritually. It was like 10-day fast. I was like, Rob's not breaking today. And I would get a call and he'd be like, hey man, I'm pressing in. And then I would see you, showing up, smile on your face, you weren't like dying of hunger. And I was like, you know what, I can keep pushing on. So I think accountability is important, especially when you find somebody that is, like you said, discipling is important, is going to set the example for you, because you can think, what is that person doing? And know that that person is leading in the right way.
Yeah. Whether it's spiritual or physical, I think always having someone hold you accountable is going to help with your goals. Like we said, discipline, consistency, accountability. Add that to the list, brother.
Add that.
I didn't know we were going to throw that one in there, but add that to the list, accountability. Because, I see people now on Instagram I'm posting this video to hold myself accountable. Whether they can, stay on that consistency, but sometimes that's what we got to do. Sometimes we got to share with someone like, hey, look, this is my goal. I remember my wife telling me like, you told everyone your goal, like your brother and a few other people, your goal for this year, now there's no turning back. I'm like, yo, that's the point.
Burn the ships.
That's the point is like, I don't want to turn back. I want people to say, and I want to be embarrassed when it's like, hey, you're not doing that no more.
Yeah.
And to be like, oh, dude, people were actually listening and now they're watching. And now I kind of have to do it, whether it's spiritual or physical. Like set a goal, tell someone about that goal, and let them hold you accountable. And don't be offended when they call you out, because that's the point of accountability is letting people hold you accountable.
Yeah. And I think too, something that we were talking about is like just getting started, like just start. Maybe you're watching this and it's like, I haven't opened up my Bible like the way that I'm supposed to, and we'll read the verse of the day. Download the Bible app, read the verse of the day, just start there. My son always reminds me that like just starting is important. He'll send me like the verses a day, and I'm like, at least he's taking the first steps of doing that. So even in the physical, you were like, I'm gonna do this, and then I started to see. And now I used to come to this guy's house and he had the snacks, he had the exotic drinks, he had the exotic chips. And now I show up and I'm like, where's the snacks? This man fed me a Dates, Rice Krispie, like a Reese's treat. And I was like, man, this is fire. But now there's a change. But it started with you just saying, day one, I'm getting started, not looking back, and I'm going to lock in.
Yeah. And day one, right? There might be many day ones. I'm talking about you might fail day 3, day 5, a year. Don't be discouraged to get back and just try again. Yeah. Like, I think that's one of the things that's motivating me now is like, don't count the days. Don't think about how many weeks, how many this and that. Yes, I do know the time frame because it's so early on, but it's like ultimately just get started. Whether you fell off a week ago, whether you fell off today when you're listening to this podcast, like go back, get back up and try again. Like that's the only way. I'm not talking fitness. I'm talking life. Like I said, like you might be, listening to this and like, man, I remember I was supposed to do this. I remember I had set this goal. Like get back. You can set that goal, do what you said you were going to do. Yeah. Don't let life get the best of you. Don't let your children get the, I'm not saying don't neglect your children.
Everybody's used that excuse all the time.
I use that excuse so much, bro. I can't do this. I got the kids. I'm like, I just don't want to do it. And I use that as my excuse. So whether it's finances, children, marriage, church, don't make an excuse because you never know. Maybe that gift, that talent that you were given, or that dream, that vision that you were given was actually meant for God to use. Yeah. I always wanted to be a baker, but, once I joined the church, I felt like I couldn't do that no more. I needed just to pursue God. I think in the church, a lot of people use that excuse.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people say like, I don't know if God wants me to do that anymore, so they quit. And it's like, well, were you sinning?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. I mean, I've used that excuse.
Yeah, it's like, okay, like I said, let's use that example. I always had this dream to be a baker. It's like, who's to say that baking skill, or maybe you open a bakery or whatever, wouldn't have opened a door to helping someone that needed your help? Yep. So don't ever feel like, like I said, there's many excuses out there. And maybe you're listening to this and you are a Christian and you're saying, I can't do this anymore because I don't feel like God told me to do that. I don't try it. If you're not meant to do it, it's not going to prosper. Yeah. Just like this podcast, like we said, we could have made so many excuses. And don't get me wrong, we prayed on this. This wasn't something that one day to the next we just jumped into.
It's we shared it where we talk about, you being spiritually Arnold Schwarzenegger, me not being that. I believe the fasting and everything was the beginning stages of God showing us you are going to go back and doing something in the creative field that you always wanted to do. But this time around, you're not going to be selfish about it. And this time around, I'm going to be the big picture that reaches everybody through that. But it started with us having to take those steps and being disciplined and being consistent and showing up over and over again to now, here's the result, the podcast. Yeah. Which we talked about before, we tried many things and the results have always failed. We quit, walk away.
And it's still not done. I'm not sitting here saying we got the podcast, we're done growing in the church, we're done growing for God. Now here's our time, this is our platform, this is all we're going to ever do. Just before this podcast, me and Matt were having a very deep conversation about our walk, and I was sharing with him, dude, I don't care, about the podcast more than I care about God. I don't care about the podcast more than I care about me and Matt's relationship as brothers. Yeah. So it's yes, this is cool. This is very, I enjoy it so much. I look forward to the podcast now. But at the same time, I'll never let it overthrow what I know is the most important thing in my life, like we shared earlier, which is God. And people might look at that and say that's such a cliche, or you're just saying that to, say that. And it's no, truly, that is my life. I know that I can do nothing without God. I only say that because we shared, I've tried so many things and none of them have succeeded. Yeah. I've made brands, I've made designs, I've made all sorts of things, been in all sorts of different fields of work. And I'm why do they always fail? And it's because I always put those things first. I never put God first. And so truly this time, like you said, we fasted, we worked up to this, and we just got started. We didn't say let me wait. And when everything's perfect, when I got the cameras, when I got the mics, when I got all this, I said, no, bro, I think we're ready. Yeah. This is already after coming and talking to Matt months prior on wanting to do something with him, like I shared. And I knew he wasn't ready spiritually. And I shared that with him, not to offend him or not to put him on blast like that. But I said, hey, look, there's still some things you need to learn. Me, of course, like I said, I'm still learning too. But there was still some things that I saw that I'm that's just not going to work. And I'll wait. I'm not going to go do it without you. I'll wait for you, and I'm going to help you grow in that area. And that's what we did. But we didn't make the excuse to say, we got to wait till we have all the best equipment, all the best things. I told Matt, I was look, I got some cash. How much is it going to be? Let's order all this stuff and let's figure it out as we go. And just this episode, we're actually finally got a camera. Yeah. The past 2 episodes, we've been filming on our iPhones.
And I'm a big, let's get it all together first and then bring it out. I mean, we had the conversation. I was hey, man, we're going to buy that $1,600 camera. It's going to look clean. It's look crazy. You stopped me and you're nah, man, we figured it out. Let's just continue to keep making the podcast. Let's continue to be consistent, right? Let's bring out an episode. Whether you said it, the whole year we went just shooting on our iPhones. Let's keep bringing this stuff out. And to me, going back to what you were saying with telling me I wasn't ready yet, I didn't take that and being this dude doesn't know what he's talking about. We're going to start right now. Throw me in there. Let's do this. I walked away and I was God, why am I not ready? Why is he telling me that I'm not ready? And of course I was shown because I was putting things before God. He wasn't, how you said, my everything. I was that person. I was Rob says God is everything. Well, I still have all these other things that he has. But you showed me God is important. Let's pray first. Let's discipline, show up to church, show up to the meeting, show up to the men's group, create that consistent life. Yeah. And when I started to learn that, I think that's when everything started to move. And then now we just had the conversation where you're like, continue to walk in that way. Continue to make sure God is everything in your life, and don't put this podcast before him.
Yeah. I don't, this, I'm not saying I know what everyone thinks, or I'm just assuming. Maybe I am just assuming, but I truly feel sometimes like, because people hear how I talk, how I dress, how I look, they might not see those things that you're talking about right now, right, in the church. Yeah. And then if I go try to talk to people outside the church, they're going to look at me one way. I'm always put like in that middle box, which I don't care. I don't really care, where I'm at. I know what I'm doing. I always share that with Matt. Like, it doesn't matter what people think about you. Just do what you need to do. And, like Matt sharing all those things, it's like people might be hearing that and think one or two things. Either this dude is obsessed, he's, obsessed with God. And yeah, I am. Don't get me wrong. I am.
Jesus freak.
So you
right? said last night.
Or they might look at it like, I didn't know that about Rob.
Yeah.
Or they might say, I never see that side of Rob. Even people in the church. And it's like, I don't need to show you that. I don't need to go and boast, right? The Bible talks about, like, if you're fasting, wash your hair, brush your teeth, comb your hair. Don't look like you're, starving yourself. 10-day fast. Don't look like you haven't eaten for 10 days. You don't need to show. Nothing is for people. It's for God. And, as Matt shares that, it's like, we wanted to do this podcast. And like Matt said, he wants everything perfect. I want everything perfect. We're perfectionists, When we do something, not only do we give it 100, we do the research. We want the best equipment. We want all that. Yeah. And this was one moment where finally, you can, like, my wife can attest to this. I am that person who says, we need this, we need that. Yeah. And this time I said, Matt, we just need to get whatever gets us going, and we'll figure out the rest as we go. And that's usually not the way I think. No. And we were shooting with 3 iPhones, right? My wife's, Matt's, and my iPhone. And as you saw the last episode 1, it was, the lights were flickering.
It's a light show in here, man. It was literally a light
show. It looked like Junior was in the background playing with the lights, and Junior wasn't even here.
And I was editing the video, and I was like, I can work around this, And then Rob, he's kind of like the last eye to see the episode before it comes out.
And I watch it on my TV.
Yeah, and you're like, everything was good, but those lights, man, those lights were not good.
And I told Matt, I don't care. Yeah. Like, we shared, if one person gets the message that we're trying to give, whether it looks janky or not, it's not about that. Yeah. Of course, we do want nice equipment. And like we shared, we got this new camera because one of our friends was actually selling it for a good price. Yeah. But Matt was actually waiting for his bonus to hit at work to help buy some of the equipment. Yeah. And I remember it was like 2 or 3 weeks ago. And we're like, let's shoot with the iPhones. We'll do the pilot. That's why we called it the pilot episode. Yeah, like, if anyone's wondering, like, why do they keep calling it the pilot episode? Why didn't they just call it episode 1? It was because we were shooting on iPhones and we thought we were going to hit it big the next week when Matt got his bonus and get 2 more cameras and all this stuff. Well, that next week comes and that bonus didn't hit.
Yeah, I was bummed. I called Rob.
No, he didn't call me. He texted me.
Oh, yeah, texted. Yeah, I was like,
angry. Bro, I'm angry. I'm going through it. Like, that bonus didn't hit. Yeah. And I was like, I need to call this guy before he goes through his whole day at work, like, gonna burn that place down, just typing angry, just, I hate this place, And I was like, let me call him. I just left the gym. He had just got to work, and I shared with him what God put on my heart. I'm like, look, Matt, you didn't receive that bonus because you want to do something that God's saying, like, you don't need all that. We don't need the best equipment. It'll come naturally when God says it's time. Yeah. I was like, God's trying to show you something. Don't miss what he's trying to show you because the bonus didn't come in. I was like, eventually the bonus is going to hit. Yeah. What are you going to do with it? Yeah. I was like, we're making it work with 3 phones right now. Don't go straight into getting that bonus and blowing it all on cameras when we can make the little things work. Going back to just get started. Yeah. Just make a day 1. Yeah. Just do whatever your goal is. Don't wait, I know he was angry that day, and I had to cool his head off.
And thank God he called me, because I was like, I was mad, but the conversation and where it went was reminding me, who cares what anybody says if it doesn't look, 8K on the big screen, you could put in a movie theater type vision. And so I was reminded, like, continue to keep doing it. We joke about it. He's like, what if you never get it? Don't want to say that, but it was more of just like a reminder of like, thank you for reminding me, like, let's do this. Like, let's keep pursuing, bringing this podcast out, setting up. And I think this whole process, we've been learning the ins and outs of what works, what doesn't work. Humble beginnings is what you always say, like, have humble beginnings. And definitely I've been humbled. But going back to the beginning, it's like, I always had the idea of like, what do they think? The viewers, what do they think? What do the people think? And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, because there's probably some people watching, sitting there saying, I wish I could do something like that. Mm-hmm. And our thing is like, well, then just start and just do it.
Yeah. Do it. And I'll say it till I die. Put God first.
Mm-hmm.
Like, put God first. Have faith in him. Like, going back to Matt and that whole bonus, I'm like, dude, maybe you just don't have the faith yet. Like, it's going to come in and you're still like doubting, you're still questioning. And, I'm like, have the faith that God's going to move. Like, whether it's with no cameras and just mics, or whether it's with $8 million mics, I don't know. Like, God's still going to move. Like, have that faith that he's going to do those things. Mm-hmm. Like, don't try to do it all yourself.
Yeah.
And I think, that is what God wants people to understand, is like, the moment you keep trying to do whatever it is that you're trying to do, a business, a brand, get a new job, when you do it by yourself, a lot of times you can't achieve it, because you're just forcing things. Mm-hmm. You got that puzzle piece and you're trying to put it in that space. It doesn't fit, and you keep trying to make it fit. So when you let go and you have faith, and then you just relax and you let God kind of steer the direction, mm-hmm. that piece goes in perfectly.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm like, I'm in the learning process with Matt.
Yeah.
Don't think I'm here teaching Matt everything and I got it all figured out. I'm going through that, through the ringer with him. And I'm like, God, what are you trying to teach us here? Because, that check was supposed to come in 3 weeks ago. I fronted some money. Where's my money back? Like, nah, it ain't like that. But, it's a learning process for the both of us. And I think one of, another thing you can add to that little list of, get the discipline, get the consistency, get the accountability, is put faith, like, in God, not in man, not in your job, not in your talents, not in your gifts. Like, put faith in God, and he'll show you what he can do. Because like I said, like, if there's any advice I can give to anyone who is watching me grow, who's seen me grow in the past, is that it's all because I trusted God, that I'm actually getting to step into what I've always said I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And, this is it. And it doesn't have to be the best. It doesn't have to look the best, right? It's just get a little faith, pray on it, trust God, and move in that direction that you always knew you were called to do. And don't let people tell you what you're supposed to do. Don't do it for other people.
Yeah, trusting God is important, because like you said, if you let other people's opinions dictate whether you follow your dreams or not, you're always going to be in the same place, because you're going to be worried about what they have to say, what they think, so that's been my biggest thing. And I'm learning it as I do this podcast, is communication is not my best thing, so learning how to talk, study, read more books, really know that it's going to be a process to get to where I want to be. I've always wanted to do a podcast, but now it's like I'm doing it. And it was scary when it was presented to me. I could act like, oh yeah, I'm ready. But deep down inside, I was like, I'm not maybe ready just yet. And God is building my faith over and over again, each and every episode, whether it be trying to figure out the audio and making sure it gets better and better, making sure the YouTube videos get better. It's like trusting that God is leading the way, and I'm just following him, and he's doing what he's supposed to do.
Yeah. So, like we talked about in this episode, yes, you heard a lot of the things we talked about were about, fitness and things like that. And like I said, we're not these big juice heads, right? We're just trying to take care of our health. But one of the things going through this new journey, or going through any journey, is learning to endure, right? You're going to have to have faith and go through testing seasons to test your faith. Are you going to endure, or are you going to give up right away, right? We wouldn't be here right now if all the adversities that we faced to get here, we just quit.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm not sitting here saying, like you might have heard us talk about physical fitness. I don't think, physical fitness is as important as your spiritual fitness.
Yeah.
Right. You could have the biggest biceps and, still be struggling with your walk with Christ.
Yeah.
So I think, having faith in God has helped us achieve so many goals. And I'm not trying to sit here and glorify anything in the world that is going to fade away, that isn't going to be important, right? Because I can't take my body with me to heaven. And anyways, the Bible says I'm going to have a glorified body, a better body, whatever that looks like, I could only imagine. But, I do think they play hand in hand. Paul does talk about physical fitness, but spiritual fitness being even more important, Paul in the Bible. And then, I think one of the greatest characters in the Bible, we talked about it at a men's meeting this Monday, was Jesus. Yeah. Everyone knows Jesus, right? Okay, people have this perception of Jesus being this scrawny, man who just walked around and was just kind and loving. And, he was kind and loving, but I'm telling you, Jesus was probably a little bit more jacked than you believe.
I think the scripture use statured. He was a statured.
He grew in stature is the scripture that, our one of our pastors shared with us, that when he was younger, he grew spiritually, but then he also grew in stature. I mean, he grew in his size. And he shared, he had to carry a cross for almost a mile up a hill, up a mountain, right? Because that's where he was crucified. I could only imagine, after not eating, being beaten, having to carry this cross. No weak man could do that.
Yeah.
If you're physically weak, you're not going to be able to endure. And that's why I think, I do see fitness and taking care of your health being important. I'm not saying, like I said, you don't have to go and get jacked. You don't have to go and be a bodybuilder. But take some steps to take care of your health, because how are you going to do the things for God when every day you're taking a day or a month or a year off your life because of how you eat, or just sitting on the couch and not doing those things? The Bible says that we're called to share the gospel with everyone. Yeah. Not just sit at home and wait. Of course, we have this platform where we get to sit at home and share the gospel. But, when we have to go out in the streets and go do those things, I think physical and spiritual fitness plays hand in hand.
Yeah, for sure.
We need both, right? So this episode, as you hear us talk about fitness and those things, understand all these concepts apply to every part of your life, every goal, every dream, every vision, whatever it is, whether it's in the church, outside the church. If you apply some of these things that we're starting to apply, or we've maybe applied in the past and lost our way, apply them now, whatever age you're listening at.
Oh, yeah.
And you're only going to grow,
yep,
whether it's physical or spiritual.
Yeah.
So, that's one of the last things we want to leave you with is these things play hand in hand.
Yeah. Learning to endure is very important, because maybe you can endure some things physically, but spiritually, showing up to a prayer meeting for an hour, you can't even make it. That was my issue. Talked about the prayers closet, and I'm more worried about being at the gym than being in my time of prayer. So understanding that enduring physically, that's cool, but can you endure spiritually? Can you really push yourself? And also, if it's opposite, if you can endure spiritually, but you can't even endure physically, then do something that, maybe tests you a little bit. Don't got to be nothing crazy, running 5 miles, but maybe start off with a walk. Maybe pushing back the junk food is something that you got to do, but do something. I think that's my biggest thing. I tell everybody, just do something. Don't got to be nothing crazy, but you'll see that you can actually get further by doing something versus doing nothing.
Yeah. You never want to be that what if.
Mm-hmm.
What if I would have did that? What if I would have tried harder? What if I wouldn't have quit so early? Don't be that person.
Mm-hmm.
That's like, that is a fear of mine.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I never want to be the what if, or only talking about the things I've done in the past. Like, I want to create new opportunity, create new things. So, you know, a lot of it goes back to enduring, and we use that word because it's our key scripture that we're going to go ahead and read. Matt, could you read that for us?
James 1, verse 2. It says, "Dear brothers and sisters, when troubles of any kind come your way, consider it an opportunity for great joy. For you know that when your faith is tested, your endurance has a chance to grow. So let it grow, for when your endurance is fully developed, you will be perfect and complete, needing nothing."
Yeah, I think we can definitely, you know, apply that to, like I said, spiritual and physical. Of course, you know, this is talking spiritual, but anything you want to do in life, you're going to face some trials. Mm-hmm. You're going to face some, you know, issues. Just know that it's building up your faith to endure.
Yeah.
When you have that endurance, right, to last longer, to go longer, especially in faith, that's what we want. Especially following Christ, that's what we want, because this is not an easy walk. Like, I'm, you know, going on 3 years, and like we shared, trying to do anything for longer than 6 months, a year is difficult. Yeah. Trying to follow Christ the rest of your life is not easy. There's going to be many issues that you face where you can just easily want to give up. Mm-hmm. But learning to endure through those things is probably going to be one of your greatest assets that you have in your little tool belt of spiritual walk.
Yeah. And to me, when it says your faith is going to be tested, you know, will you be ready to face that test? You always talk to me about tests all the time. Like, be aware when those things come, because you'll either pass the test or you're going to fail the test. So to me, it's like reminding me, hey, you're going to have to endure. But once you pass this test, your faith has grown even more. For the next test that comes, you'll be ready for it. And it's probably going to be a little bit harder than the last one.
Yeah. And, you know, as we've been sharing this whole episode, going back to a fitness perspective, right? Anyone who works out, anyone who's ever worked out, when you endure through a month of training, you start seeing some muscles. Mm-hmm. You start looking in the mirror like, dang, I got a little bit of muscle here, a little bit of muscle there. It's the same when you walk with Christ. When you go through a trial and you get out of it, the next time you go through that trial again, if it's the same trial, you're going to be a little bit stronger. You're going to be able to handle a little bit more. You know, if you gave up and, like you said, you failed that test and it comes again, recognize it. Remember, this happened to me before and I didn't handle it the way I was supposed to. You know, I always share that with you. Like, look at that situation, realize, how can I endure through this? And if you endure through it, that faith, you just level up. You're just leveling up, right? So we want to leave y'all with that. Yeah. Challenge y'all a little bit at the end to just have some faith in God. And when you're going through those trials, when you're going through those issues, those difficulties, understand that he's walking with you. He's giving you the strength that you need. He's not going to let you endure through it alone. He's always going to be there. Even if you feel like you're alone, know that he's there and he gives you the strength to do it. And just let that encourage you to lift up your faith even more.
Yeah, guys. So we just want to thank y'all for tuning in to another great episode of the 99 for 1 podcast. If you've liked this video, make sure you hit the thumbs up button. If you are a listener for the first time, subscribe, continue to follow this journey that we're on. And if this podcast has helped you in any way, leave a comment down below. Me and Rob would love to go through the comments and see how this has encouraged y'all today. So we thank y'all for listening. Make sure you follow us on Instagram, and we'll see you on the next one.
Yep. Peace.